Hey guys, Nufotis here with a different sort of video than what I typically do. I've done something kind of like this before, but I want to take a look at something from my childhood, just because I like talking about stuff I made, and I did a lot of drawings and writing and stuff when I was a kid, some of which I think is kind of fun. So I've got this little box here. I'm just gonna open this up and take out this little story that I did. I don't remember for sure. I want to say it was in second grade. So we had an assignment in class that was to write some kind of story that involved vocab words from whatever vocab we were learning at the time. And I've always, my whole youth aspired to be a writer. And at this age, I really wanted to write superhero stuff. I had a bunch of superhero characters that I'd come up with. And I thought that this would be a good chance to practice that. So I got on our family computer, I wrote it up. The due date for the assignment came and went, and I was still writing it because it wasn't done. I'd kind of forgotten to even put in a lot of the vocab words, I believe. I ended up turning it in late. I don't remember exactly how late, but I do know everybody else turned in like a single sheet of paper that was like a couple paragraphs, and I turned in this little short story I had written. And I was kind of proud of it at the time. Like, I thought that this was like a good kind of failing where I got in a little bit in trouble at school, but I was like, well, I did it for my art or whatever, so I was kind of proud of it. But that was ages ago. I've read this story once since then when I first refound it when I was like cleaning out my old bedroom, like probably about a decade ago. And I found it then and I reread it then with one of my siblings, but I don't remember too much from then. There's a handful of things I remember, and I'll talk about them as we go through it. But what I thought would be fun would be if I just read this story I wrote for homework in second grade with a little bit of commentary. I'll break it up. I do not think you'll be able to read along. Our printer was extremely light, and I think even if I zoomed in, it would be difficult for you to read with it. But I didn't have a great idea for what other visuals to use, so I'm just going to flip through it, but probably there won't be a lot to look at in this video. For the cover here, I don't know how well you can see it. I have this demon character that's the villain of the story, and then down here these little colorful figures. I'm going to try and get it close to the camera here. Little colorful figures that were the different superheroes that were in the story. Now, I did a series of videos on this channel a year or two ago. I don't remember. I guess it was a few years now, where I looked at old superhero drawings that I had done in junior high and high school, which was later than this. Some of these characters are in those videos too. They were characters I kept when I started trying to build a more serious, realized superhero universe. But some of them didn't. I don't remember who. I don't remember all of them. But yeah, I'll add my commentary where I can. I don't think the story marks where the vocab words were, so if I happen to notice a word that seems weird, well, I'll probably point it out as a potential vocab word. I think that might be a fun game. I could be wrong. They could be underlined or something. I haven't looked at this because I wanted it to be kind of fresh since it's been so long since I've read it. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get in. So we start off with Super Monkey, who was the sidekick of a child superhero called Super Tiny, who was actually based off of my youngest sibling, who was a toddler at the time, maybe even still a baby. But I wrote a few years older as like a preschool-aged superhero, I think. But I'm just going to jump in. Super Monkey was watching ATV when a news flash appeared on the screen. We interrupt this program to bring you a special announcement. What does this say? A 120-story tall monster is terrorizing Manhattan. And that would be the giant devil. Super Monkey was gone in a flash. And then there's an asterisk break. Meanwhile, Green Panther was playing checkers with RB. I don't know who RB is. When the alarm went off, Red Lion came in out of breath. Okay, so Green Panther is a character I've always had in my repertoire. It's just a character I came up with very, very young. I don't remember Red Lion or RB. I don't remember these other side characters to Green Panther. I always remembered Green Panther being like a solo hero. But my Green Panther character was based off of a green-colored Iron Man action figure I had, so my guess is Red Lion was my normal-colored Iron Man action figure, and probably I had some other color variants of Iron Man who were his, friend group. But anyway, the alarms for Manhattan. They say a 120-story tall monster is terrorizing them. Did I really use the word terrorizing both times? That's sad. All mutants rushed away. I don't know if the team is called All Mutants or just Mutants, and it was just all of the mutants rushed away, but regardless, they're all gone. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Iceberg, who is another character that made it into my my collection of drawings later in life, Iceberg was saving New York City when he felt a tremor. I want to point out, I capitalized New York, but not city here. I guess I didn't think that the city was part of the official title. But he felt a tremor. It repeated over and over again. "What's that?" Iceberg asked. Oh, I spelled "ast" wrong. It says Iceberg ached. A-K-E-D. It's Blager, the person beside him said. Who's Blager? A 120-story tall monster terrorizing Manhattan. Okay, so now at this point, I think saying the specific height of 120 stories tall and using the word terrorizing was probably supposed to be like a running joke. I think it's funny that they all describe it the same way. I don't know who this random person is that knows who Blager is. Seems a little strange, but I guess I assumed everybody knew who Godzilla was whenever Godzilla would show up, and this was just the same thing. Anyway, Iceberg rebuilt the city out of unmeltable ice and left. He just immediately rebuilt the whole city. Just, it's all fixed with ice that will not melt, so don't worry about that. Elsewhere, Brandy was playing with her toys. Brandy is my youngest sister. This is the super tiny character I was talking about. She overheard is 2 words here. Overheard her parents talking. "Did you hear about that monster terrorizing Manhattan?" "Yeah, I heard it's 120 stories tall." I guess this is how I wrote my parents, because that's also who these characters would be. Brandy raised a toy T in the air. Blue lightning zapped the balls at the end of it. Apologies if there's any side noise. I don't know if it'll be picked up or not. I have my computer nearby, and it has gotten noisy lately, so I apologize for that. Anyway, so she has a toy T that's got little balls at the end of the top of the T, where the hands would be in a T pose. And she holds it in the air, and blue lightning zaps the balls, and then the colors swirled around inside of it. Clothes formed over her. First yellow gloves appeared, followed by yellow boots. You can tell this character is a bit more realized than the other ones. A yellow hood grew over the 2-year-old's face. So she's 2 in the story. I don't remember if that's how old she was in real life at the time. But that would make sense. The hood went down into a cape. Her eyes appeared. In the middle of the belt was a black T. Super Tiny rushed off. So yeah, Super Tiny is the superhero version of my infant sister. Super Monkey landed in the heart of Manhattan. So I think Super Monkey's actually not related to Super Tiny, like I said. I think I'm a little bit confused because Super Tiny's costume was based off of Monkey in the Dial M for Monkey segments on Dexter's Lab, like the black outfit with the yellow gloves and stuff. But I think Super Monkey was actually just a glowing green monkey based off of a little plastic monkey toy that I had at the time. So maybe they aren't actually sidekicks like I was thinking. Super Monkey landed in the heart of Manhattan. There he saw Iceberg looking around. "Iceberg, my man, how's it going?" Super Monkey asked. "What? Super Monkey!" Iceberg exclaimed. For some reason, Iceberg's 2 words here, but nowhere else. "Did you come over to check out Blager too?" Iceberg asked. "You mean the 120-story tall monster terrorizing Manhattan?" "Yeah, I heard about M. M is spelled E''M. I think it should have been apostrophe EM. Like, Super Monkey seems to talk pretty casually. But I've never seen that E apostrophe M before. Super Monkey said. Just then they saw a hint of black and yellow. Super Tiny was looking in the bushes for the monster when she heard two familiar voices. Who's there? Yeah, what he said. Maybe. I spelled maybe M-A-B-Y. Maybe it's Blager. No, it's too short. Wrong form of two. Hey, I'm not short. I am not an it, Super Tiny said. Sorry. Okay, so that's page 1. I feel sorry for my teacher that had to read all this for what should have been a simple assignment. Hey, it's Super Tiny. She turned around. It was Iceberg and Super Monkey. Sorry, Iceberg repeated. It's okay. Why are you here? Super Tiny asked. We're looking for Blager. I don't think there's any way you'll be able to see, but I really stretched out the spelling of Blager here. Super Monkey said, wiggling his fingers. So he's saying it's Blager. Who's Blager? Super Tiny asked, shaking all over. His wiggling his fingers like that reminded her of spiders. A friend of her sister's was scared of spiders. Her name was Aubrey. I'm assuming that was a real person I knew at the time. I don't know. He's a 120-story tall monster. I'm not shorter than that. My mommy read many stories to me, and I'm taller than any of them. Super Tiny started to cry. So Super Tiny obviously is supposed to be infantile, and she's 2. So this is my idea of how to write a 2-year-old at the time. There, Iceberg said. He was sorry. They heard Iceberg snickering. Now what's so funny? Super Monkey asked. A story is an entire level on a house, Iceberg said, laughing in between words. Super Tiny immediately stopped crying. I don't know why I guess she was crying because she thought she was being teased for being shorter than a stack of books, although 120 books would be taller than a 2-year-old. But knowing that it's actually incredibly huge, for some reason makes her no longer need to cry. Anyway, Rocky heard voices. I think this is the first we've heard of Rocky. Rocky is, I'm pretty sure, just from the name, is probably The Thing. I had a The Thing action figure that would have played with the other action figures these characters were based on. Rocky heard voices. Gotcha, he said. The creatures looked at the rock organism in front of them. Yeah, he's just The Thing from Fantastic Four. Okay, so I'm an elemental, Rocky said. He's very insecure about his appearance, so I feel bad. What defined? What? I think it's supposed to be like, what do you find? Green Panther asked right behind him. The people he found brightened up. So probably Rocky is one of the All Mutants with Green Panther and Red Lion then. Yeah, the people he found brightened up like they saw a new friend. Rocky turned around and saw Green Panther's normally rectangular eyes go oval. I'm trying to describe the way that a character in a mask's eyes will change shape, like Deadpool's eyes will be different shapes to show him emoting when the rest of his face is covered. So his normally rectangular eyes go oval. Is this some family reunion I didn't know about? Rocky asked. Rocky, this is Super Tiny, he said, pointing to the 2-year-old in the weird Halloween costume. So, I'm guessing I might have written, or at least imagined, something where Green Panther and Super Tiny had teamed up before, because they seem to know each other. Hi, Super Tiny, Rocky burst out laughing. I guess making fun of her name, because it's followed by, she burst out crying. Everybody's bursting out. There, he didn't mean anything. A 4'3" tall, glowing green monkey said, patting her on the back. And that's Super Monkey. This is Super Monkey, Green Panther said, gesturing to the monkey. Hello, Super Monkey, Rocky said, trying not to upset them again. So, Rocky's got a hard heart, Green Panther teased. What? Rocky glared at him. He glared back, which was scarier since his eyes reminded Rocky of fire anyway, because they're red. Rocky looked away. The rest of the mutants appeared. I never go into who the mutants are. I don't remember. Like, I know one of them is RB, I guess, and one of them is Red Lion, but I don't know who these characters are. I'm assuming that all of the mutant characters are based on action figures I had at the time, because so far that's held true. Iceberg looked at the creatures that hopped out of the bushes. One of them looked just like Green Panther. Oh, we are going into the mutants now. One of them looked just like Green Panther, except he had red armor. So that's Red Lion, the regular Iron Man figure. He had yellow fur, and also had red leather between his wing blades. I don't know why I had to describe it that way. He also had bazookas instead of swords. His name was Red Lion. I never described Green Panther's swords because the Green Panther or the action figure that Green Panther was based on was an Iron Man that had these big swords on his hands, like they were just detachable blades that he would have on his wrists. But the regular Iron Man action figure had a bazooka, so he has those instead of swords. Anyway, one was a pretty young lady, except she was covered in orange fur. On her pink armor were pictures of weapons. I don't know what figure this character would have been. He later found out that she could pull them out as real weapons. She had bows and arrows on her arms. Her name was Pink Tiger. This character might have been original. Like, I just felt like I needed to have a girl in the group with all the Iron Man figures. So I made up one that has pink armor. A robot that was part red and part blue. On the blue side was a red eye, and on the red side was a blue eye. His name was RB. So that's the robot. I think that was a VR Trooper action figure that I had, or some kind of like Sentai robot, or robotic looking figure. The rock elemental that he had seen first was made of solid granite. His name was Rocky. Beside him was a miniature Rocky. His name was Metamorphic. I don't know who that is. This is a smaller rock creature named Metamorphic. There was a Spider-Man. He had pincers for a mouth. He had 8 eyes and 6 arms. Brown fur covered his whole body. So I didn't have a figure like that, but I did have one that was like a half-transformed Peter Parker that was regular Spider-Man, but he had 6 arms. And I might have just used that and pretended it was the fully transformed Spider-Man from the animated series. And that's what I'm describing here. Then they felt the ground below them shake again. I spelled below wrong. They felt the ground below them shake again and again. Oh, we're reaching the end here. It's Blager, everybody shouted. Or everybody but the mutants cried. I don't know why I said shouted. Is that really... Yeah, I guess... yeah, that's how I transitioned it. Who's Blager? A very tall monster. Oh, all the mutants said, figuring it out. Yeah, they weren't there for the earlier discussion of who Blager was. Suddenly, a fire-red, scaled foot landed practically on top of them. Ah, Super Tiny screamed. They looked up and saw a giant monster. He had 60-foot-long horns coming out of his head. His red scales that covered his entire body seemed to be on fire. His wingspan would put a dragon to shame. Why, yeah. His red-eyed pupils were bigger than a football field. He had a demon tail. I still never seen anything that felt like a vocab word to me. Super Tiny repeated. Roar! Blager roared. The entire island shook. Red Lion shot his bazooka. The monster breathed a fireball. Iceberg quickly made unmeltable ice gloves and tossed them to Red Lion. This is good teamwork here. Red Lion put them on. He caught the ball. He threw it to Pink Tiger. I spelled through like to go through something instead of throwing it. Anyway, Pink Tiger waited, and the fireball was sucked into her armor. So her armor can not only produce weapons, but can also like absorb other weapons, I guess. Then Red Lion threw, I spelled through wrong again, the gloves at his mother. Oh, is Pink Tiger Red Lion's mom? Okay, they too were sucked into her armor. Now there were pictures of a fireball and a pair of gloves on her armor. I really wanted to describe this power. I thought it was really cool. They'd been fighting Blager for hours. Finally, Pink Tiger put on Iceberg's gloves and threw the fireball at Blager. Blager disappeared. Yeah, so you can tell at this point the teacher was getting mad at me for not turning it in. Because I just wrapped it up because I think I wanted this to be more like 10 pages instead of 3. Everybody went home and celebrated. They have had many more battles. And then I wrote the end, and you can see Blager here is like hopping through the page. He's like ripping up the page apart to come at you. So that's the story. It was way more dialogue heavy than I remembered. I thought there would be more Blager fighting, but there was not. I have no idea what our vocab words were. I don't even remember how many there were. But there's nothing really stood out to me. I don't know if you thought any of the words that I read sounded out of place or like they might have been forced in to be the vocab. Feel free to leave a comment, but I don't see any indication of what they would have been. I know I put them in there because I remember going back in and adding them because I'd forgotten about it. But yeah, so that's my book, Super City. If you're wondering, the reason it was called Super City is not because the city is super at all, but because that was at the time what I was calling my superhero universe. So like the comics that I wanted to make were going to be Super City Comics or SC Comics. But yeah, thanks for sticking around if you're still here. I thought that was kind of fun. I really enjoy looking at all this old stuff I made that I still have lying around in boxes. If you enjoy this, let me know, and I will be sure. I have an endless supply of crap I drew at different points of my childhood because I was just always drawing stuff. And not too much writing like this. I know I have a couple more superhero stories, but I don't know if I still have them or if they've survived. I know I wrote some in middle school, though, because I tried to make a concerted effort to actually write origin stories. I know I had like an origin story for Iceberg that I wrote. I just don't know. I just don't know if those are still around anymore because I haven't seen them. But if I find them, I would be happy to read them here. But I also have other drawings and stuff I can look at if y'all are interested in that. So anyway, thanks for sticking around, and yeah, I'll see you later, hopefully. Bye.